that is Mr. Yaqub, Ahmed Yaqub. And sir is this national spokesperson of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, and he's the security analyst also on the national and foreign affairs of Pakistan. So, sir, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
yeah. So, sir, actually, we have few questions with you. Okay. So, my first question will be with you. Like, sir, how is it like the Pakistan political crisis going on right now? Like, we have heard news that there are many demonstrations been going on in the Pakistan against the Imran Khan government. Mr. Imran Khan is like suffering from many demonstrations right now. So how do you see that this political crisis will just like will be solved easily, or it will get worse? It will get worse than that. Than this.
Himanshu, first of all, I would not call it a political crisis. In fact, it's a routine matter, although purely internal matter, but it's not a crisis because
Yeah.
I don't think that such a government can be toppled by such demonstrations. Because in any democratic country, it's a right of opposition parties, either they get together on the same page or same platform to demonstrate. It's the beauty of the I would say beauty of democracy. So I don't think that it is going to make any uh, even a bit change in political scenario in Pakistan.
So, sir, how do you see like what is the reason basically that there are demonstrations been going on? Like, is it the inflation rate that is going on
No,
above
no.
to a normal extent?
If the reasons behind such demonstration or a protest were purely people's concerns, the real issues, then I mean we must concern about it. I mean we had shown serious concern about these kind of protests, but in fact. These corrupt political parties try to save themselves. I mean, try to cover themselves with the street power. Otherwise, it's
Hmm.
not due to price hikes or you call it any other public interest. So this is purely, I mean, Maulana Fazlur Rahman, who constantly criticizing or accusing government for rigging the election, not government in fact, but the election commission or the establishment of the country, in fact. So we have seen this in past as well. I mean, it's not a new thing for us. I mean, when you are reaching the midterm of the government, usually they come over and show their presence, existence for the next elections. So it happens. Most probably, it must have happened in India as well. But in current scenario, I mean, as Modi got so popular
Hmm.
that sometime I feel that Congress is getting irrelevant over there.
Might is a like common situation in the political scenario in both India and Pakistan as far as it is concerned. So, sir, how do you see the conflict solution between India and Pakistan? Like, will there be an everlasting solution of peace between the both countries, or the rivalry between India and Pakistan will be going on till the upcoming years? And what is the point of view of Imran Khan government? How Imran Khan government is going to solve this crisis between India and Pakistan? How do you see this thing, sir?
See, Himanshu, we are traditional adversaries
Yes, sir.
since we have since the formation of both countries. I mean, we have been it's a traditional. I mean, and it's not that long. I mean, we have been a part. The partition took place 73 years ago. But in if I give you the
Hmm.
example of Germany and France, probably perhaps they have fought for hundreds of years. I mean, and finally they concluded that the rivalry based on hundreds of years finally turned into the
Hmm.
partnership you call it a friendship. So when they can come closer, then why don't we? I mean, it's natural. I mean, how long? See, we have fought five major or some small scale wars between India and
Yes, sir.
Pakistan. It has been fought. So no, neither we can deter India on Kashmir, nor India
Hmm.
deterred Pakistan during these 73 years. I mean, if we find out the conclusion that we haven't taken a single inch of the Kashmir, other than the LOC was a little, there was a little change after this Tashkent agreement. Otherwise, no one has uh, neither India has deterred Pakistan. So we have come to the point that we should sit together. Uh, we should have a peace pact. No war pacts, so that we can live peacefully. We can start a trade with each other. We can elevate the poverty. These are the basic issues. I mean, these are. But why do we fight a wars? Probably for a little part of, little section of India or little section of Pakistan, it may suits them.
Hmm.
Those who deals in weapons or those who deals in these kind of things, probably it suits the little section of both countries. So that's why, or probably that is the ruling elite, I would say, or that influential class, which the war suits to them or the conflict suits to them. Otherwise, for the common people, I mean, for you, for me, it doesn't suit at all.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, the over life would be
Sir,
much better if we get closer to each other.
hmm. Sir, but what is the reason like each and every time India starts to go for a dialogue and suddenly there is a terrorist attack from the Pakistan and in the Jammu and Kashmir area. So how do you think like the terrorists who are based in Pakistan means see there are many terrorist groups operating in Pakistan and even Mr. Imran Khan had admitted in the UN General Assembly that there are about 30,000 to 40,000 terrorists that are being settled in Pakistan and they are fighting or waging wars against different countries. Either it is Afghanistan or either it is India or either it is China. Means there are many literal things. And the Pakistan army is also like either they are supporting them or either they are fighting against them in the Fata province or in on the this Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province or in Waziristan, in Balochistan. So how do you see, sir, like there will be one thing like Pakistan army will get rid of this terrorism one day, or how do you think like when terrorist attack on in the Indian soil and that is being supported by the Pakistan base. So will it hamper the peace movement between the both countries?
Well, to understand this issue, we have to go back to 1947, right after the its foundation of Pakistan and
Hmm.
India. At that time, when these 565 princely states had to decide whether they go with India or whether they uh, make a accession to Pakistan. At that time, when Raja Hari Singh decided to remain independent, or some states, not some states, probably, perhaps that was Hyderabad, which made a standstill agreement with India for the
There
one
were
year. I
only
mean, they
three
opted for
states,
that.
like Junagadh, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, Junagadh, the first state who had it was perhaps the first state who had made an instrument of accession with Pakistan. But as far as Hyderabad is concerned, Hyderabad made a standstill agreement so that they will decide during this one year. I mean, they had that option. But as far
Mm.
as Kashmir is concerned, it started, I mean, on 8th of October 1947. There were some infiltration made by these tribal militants. Even at that time, I mean, now the history is declassified, so I must admit that obviously there was Brigadier Akbar Khan who was back of that
Yeah.
infiltration. and later we had to admit that yes, it was the Pakistan army behind that. And in the result, I mean, on perhaps on 20th October, when Raja Hari Singh had to flee to Jammu, I think from Kashmir. So although
Yeah.
he wasn't willing to I mean become the part of India, but unfortunately he had to sign that instrument of accession. So on 27th of October that was done, and because when
Hmm.
he sought help from Indian government, Mountbatten, the Governor General, then refused to send the Indian troops because he said that that is between the militants and the independent that princely state. So we have nothing to do with this. I mean, we cannot support them openly, or we cannot send them troops. So
Hmm.
since I mean right after the instrument of accession, they come forward and then fought with the Pakistan, and then later on, I mean, then Nehruji went to Security Council and he asked for the ceasefire, and then this LOC started. And there was some. The one part was ceasefire, the other part was LOC, and then this plebiscite, and
Yes, sir.
then later on, I mean, that whether you call it a freedom movement or not, I mean, at that time they had not decided yet, because there was Samjhota called Delhi Samjhota in 1952. Then there was an agreement between Kashmir and India on 1954. Then the article came 370, and then the Constituent Assembly of Kashmir. So there is a long history. I mean, then this Constituent Assembly of Kashmir was suspended in 1957. But then it was, I mean, there was no militancy. There was no militancy. There was then later in you have to understand,
Hmm.
after the Soviet invasion
Yes,
in
sir.
Afghanistan in 1979,
Then.
that that was the
Hmm.
turning point. I mean, then the Ronald Reagan, American president, and then Saudis come forward, and then they started sending these jihadists to. I mean, Pakistan was the gateway. I mean, we had to support
Yeah.
these international alliances. Pakistan became the gateway. I mean, they come to Pakistan, from where this
Hmm.
the actual founder of Al Qaeda, Dr. Yusuf Abdullah Azam, he was the actual founder of the. He had a khidmat center who used to facilitate uh, these jihadists who transit from Pakistan. Then the war was fought, and ultimately, 1989 came when Soviet left the Afghanistan. Then the real issue started from
Hmm.
1989, because when you, I mean, when you equip the militant, an innocent militant who is passionate to fight for the invasion, so it was
Hmm.
hard to make them understand that if the Soviet invade Afghanistan, then you have to fight for against the Soviets. But same, if they believe that India has invaded Kashmir, that's what they believe. So then they thought that we must fight for our Muslim brothers in Kashmir, or
Hmm.
in other words, that was
So,
that
but sir,
this
the thing is that this thing should had been stopped. This thing should had been stopped by the Pakistan army itself, because they are guarding the borders.
No, see, when the militants, majority of them left and then get back to their countries and in routine life, but some of them, not some thousands, at that time you can call it. I mean, that Pakistan thought that we can use them against. I mean, in a freedom movement of Kashmir, let's turn this moral support to the militant support. So they, I mean, diverted those prepared militant commanders to the Kashmir. I mean, then the infiltration started, and then I mean, strategically, perhaps that was to bleed India. So India may leave India may come to the point that it comes to resolve or go for the resolution, any sort of conclusion that where they resolve the issue. But then it was fought. I mean, 700,000 Indian army was there, was deployed there. So that's why I said that even although several thousands has been killed from both sides, but we cannot deter India to leave the Kashmir. Neither they took an inch of LOC from our side. So then, obviously, when 9/11 came, things got worse. I mean, when 9/11 came after that, obviously, those who were fighting in Kashmir then later on started fighting with our army. I mean, those militants again started fighting with our army. So these strategic assets becomes a liability. I mean, then India wasn't bleeding, but Pakistan started bleeding. So then it was a long war. Then Pakistan had realized, and there was a paradigm shift in the policy in Pakistani
So,
side.
sir, how do you differentiate between the good terrorism and bad terrorism? Means,
Well,
going through well, many different outlets of Pakistan that I personally had a personal view. I don't go by the Indian views. Might be there are kind of political movement that is going in Pakistan, but for some wherein there is a terrorist attack in India, the Pakistans enjoy. Sir, it's my personal belief and it's my personal thing that the Pakistani, not all the Pakistani enjoy, but those who are supporting these terrorist outfits, they enjoy a lot. But when the terrorist attack occurs in Pakistan, they used to decry it, they used to condemn it. So, sir, what is the reason that the Pakistan just enjoy the terrorist attack in India, but they do not decry it or they do not condemn it, but they have enjoyment. But the same terrorist attack occurs, but the people then decried that we are being attacked by terrorists, we are like suffering from terrorism. So why did Pakistan army supporting all these terrorist groups in one go? How do you think, sir?
see, Himanshu, simply,
Yes,
if
sir.
someone attacks on India, that is a good terrorist. If it is if those terrorists attack Pakistan, that is good terrorist for India. So anti-India
No,
sentiment or
no, sir.
anti-India, no. Just it was the perception. I mean, when those militants who attacks Mumbai, for few, they were the fighters, they were the, I mean, so-called heroes for those who are into these terrorism acts. So then finally we concluded that, I mean, we have reached to this point that no terrorist is a good terrorist. No terrorist. You
Yes, sir.
only if there is a freedom movement. I mean, we should not correlate the terrorist with the freedom movement. If someone is fighting with the military, that is something else. Remember, the militants which come, the mujahideen which come from Saudi Arabia, Yemen, or other Chechen, when they went
Hmm.
to Afghanistan, they went to fight against the Soviet, not the innocent people. So those who fight against, even if anyone from any side, if the fight remains between the military and the militants or the mujahid, that is acceptable. But when you target the innocent people, like Mumbai attacks, cannot be justified. We cannot at any level, at any, whether you call it even during the war, during the time of the war, when the theater of the war is open, either one side attack the other's civilian population, it is not acceptable. I mean, it is we must condemn it. So even
Hmm.
during that war zone, I mean, during the time of war, nobody appreciated that if you hit the civilian population, whether on India side, whether on Pakistan side. So the freedom fighters, there was, I mean, then when they started, whether they started or someone else started, when they started targeting the innocent people, they turned from
Hmm.
freedom fighters to the terrorists. I mean, as far as they were on the borders or as far as they were fighting with the military or armed forces, that is then another case.
Mhm.
But when you even if there is a war between India and Pakistan, and then you send some terrorist from there and who attacks the Pakistani civilian population, they must call the terrorism, which should not be appreciated by
Sir,
you or
as per to sir my experience, sir, as per to my experience, till yet India hasn't supported any kind of terrorism in Pakistan. Means yes, like about few days back, Pakistan foreign minister, Mr. and DSPR general. They just conducted official press conference and news briefing regarding that India is going to sabotage this CPEC project, and they have caught some spies and some people who are just planning to attack the national interest of Pakistan. So, how do you see that, sir? Are they in reality, and they are present in real, or it was a fake thing?
well, uh, I am, I'm convinced. I believe. I mean, what they have, I mean, told you or what you were told by them. I mean, here we lack. I mean,
Mhm.
if you say that Indians are not involved, no, Indians in even in several terrorist attacks conducted by over terrorists was backed up, equipped by India, funded by India. It's not like that.
Sir, how do you prove? How can you prove it, sir, that the Indians were involved? Like every time, whenever there is an attack on the Indian soil from Pakistan, and the Indian intelligence agencies and the Indian law enforcement agencies
It's not a
provide
matter of.
Pakistan with different of documentary evidence. But either, sir, either it is a terrorist handlers talking to each other, like the Pakistani handlers of Lashkar-e-Taiba, who were sitting in a control room in Pakistan at that time. They were having a conversation over telephonic conversation with the terrorists that were attacking in the Taj Hotel and in the Nariman Square. So all these records is available on YouTube, and even in fact that Ajmal Amir Kasab, one of the lone attackers that survived that attack, that was caught by the Mumbai police. He also confirmed that they had been in contact with their handlers. Either it was Mr. Lakwi or Mr. Hafiz Said or whatever the other handlers were there. So how do you think like that was the evidence that the Indian intelligence agencies provided to the Pakistan,
Okay.
but Pakistan ignored all those things. So how do you say, sir,
Okay.
like the evidence that Pakistan? Yeah,
I got your point. Okay.
yeah,
Let's take an example of Mumbai attacks. Okay, it was
yes,
the
sir.
10 young guys went from Karachi to Mumbai, reached over there, attacked there, and even
Mm,
India has found their satellite phones from where they have called back to Zakiur Lakwi, and then
mm,
the whole plan is unfolded. I mean, this whole conspiracy is now no more a secret. This is so here India has
mm,
to prove one thing, that whether that any state actor was involved or not. I mean,
mm,
what India has to prove at their end is whether Zakiur Rahman was instructed or appreciated by any state actor or any military establishment. This which we have to which India has to prove. Okay, now we come forward. You and me think in a different level. I mean, when we talk
mm,
about same, we talk about evidence. We can share evidences, and then these organizations or institutes, probably RAW or ISI, doesn't think like us. I mean, they
mm,
act. They don't discuss. They don't
yeah,
talk. They act. I mean,
mm,
if something is done by India, or if any terror act, or if anything, because this is this is the deep secret. I mean, they will retaliate. They will not. I mean, they will convey the message by their acts, not by their So they don't bother to fight over on the diplomatic level or to let the international community to know if Mumbai was done. Okay, it was even if there is some hidden hands, the India will not just fight alone on diplomatic front. They must retaliate, whether in any form, in Balochistan or in any way. They must retaliate. So if there was a Siachen, there was a Kargil. So at any level, I mean, if we strike on LOC, if we violate the LOC, they will retaliate. I mean, it's not like they will sit idle.
Yes.
So the fight between these dossiers level or high commissioner level, that is another part. Just you can see the example of Kargil. I mean, we both we came together. Mr. Vajpayee, who's the most respectable Prime Minister of India, they were
Yes,
trying
sir.
to, I mean, bring peace. But again, there was a misadventure. I would call it miscalculation, and inadvertently. Why I call it inadvertently? Because when you try to adventure something and you expect that probably it is on a small scale to just disturb them, it will not be on a. Again, the Mumbai plan was not this much bigger plan. When they planned it, I mean, what I have studied, they thought that this is a little adventure. Most probably, most likely, they will be caught when once they reach India or once they reach their land. It wasn't they even the planners or even the conspirants or the masterminds, they were not expecting it in this way. I mean, it was destructive. It was massively destructive. And if they had an idea that it could be this much bigger, or the outrage will be this much, then they perhaps never would go for that big adventure. So sometime when you are trying to hit someone, the result will be sometimes bigger than what you expect. So yes.
Yes, sir. So, sir, see, actually, this thing happens many times. Whenever there is a peace talks between India and Pakistan, some kind of exchange in India, like Mr. Narendra Modi visited Pakistan in Nawaz Sharif's daughter's, and suddenly after coming from Pakistan, there was the Pathankot Airways
Yes.
attack. Then the ISI members came to India, they investigated it, and they gone back. They then just filed a lawsuit in the Pakistani court, and there was some like terrorist outfits members were being caught. And whenever like so how do you see, sir, like all those Pakistan non-state actors that they are settled in Pakistan, so how do you see like they don't want a peace deal between India and Pakistan, or they only think that the solution of for capturing Kashmir from their point of view is either the terror activity, or it is a militarized doctrine only?
Uh, well, I would call it unfortunate. I mean, when the Mumbai attacks happened, our foreign minister, then Shah Mahmood Qureshi, was present in Delhi. He was having discussion. He was having was engaging with the Indian counterpart, and same day it happened. And when Vajpayee was here, when he came to the Lahore, and then from this Kargil adventure was, I mean, when he was here, the army, the militants were infiltrating to Kargil. I mean, there are some elements. I
I
mean,
beg your, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon, sir. But the thing was that they were not ordinary militants. They were the soldiers of the Pakistan's Northern Light Infantry,
yes,
and that
yes,
was
yes,
sent by
yes,
Mr.
yes,
Musharraf.
yes,
Yeah,
indeed. You are right. You are right.
yeah. But
I'm owning it.
they were
Exactly.
yeah, they were disguised as Mujahideen or militants or being called the
Again,
freedom
again,
fighters. But later on, after like 15 or 16, Pakistan admitted that they are regular soldiers. So on this
exactly.
issue
There was a
only, I just
rancor.
want to ask one thing. Yeah, yeah. So,
What
sir,
we
why did the Pakistan army didn't? Yeah, why did the Pakistani army didn't acknowledge for so much lot of time that they were not their soldiers, and they were the only normal routine mujahideens, and they didn't the dead bodies, even the photographs from the military men that their bodies were buried by the Indian soldiers only, a fortnight from whom they were fighting. So why do you think like the Pakistan army each and every time don't acknowledge the bodies of the people who are just crossing on? So what is the answer? What is the basic reason?
No, it's a simple. I mean, when the Kargil happened, when this Kargil war started, initially,
Yes, sir.
when Prime Minister was briefed, when the Prime Minister then Nawaz Sharif was briefed, he was told that
Mm.
perhaps this is some kind of a little adventure. Or then next day, when he was briefed, he was actually he was not briefed. He was confused. I mean, he was made confused that there is no such kind of big action. I mean, there would be something on the LOC or something like
Right.
that. And then the
Mm.
next day, I mean, the next day he called the chief of army staff and asked that, have you crossed LOC? And he said, yes, sir. And he was
Mm.
asked by Prime Minister, with whose permission? He said, sir, at my own. I mean, this is now
Mm.
declassified. So initially, when this happened, uh, Prime Minister was told to not accept it, that this is the regular militants. He was told that there are some militants, Islamic militants, who infiltrated in the border in the LOC, and he was told that only five checkposts were, I mean, conquered by those militants. But it was
Mm.
not
Okay.
five checkposts. It was over 100 or almost 120 checkposts, which was conquered by Pakistani military. Then, when the foreign, then at that time, Khurshid Kasuri went to convey the West that no, 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 these are. So they were given, provided, I mean, by India, the satellite, those pictures, that it was clear evidence that these are not the militants, these are the regular army. So at that time,
Mm.
if Pakistan accept those as those militants or soldiers as their regular army, I mean, it was a great
Mm.
embarrassment for them that they were going on the edge of war. So that's the reason. I mean, it first of all, this Kargil adventure shouldn't be started at first instant. Uh,
Mm.
even I don't think that was in. I mean, that was the misadventure by then the army chief. I mean, it was a great misadventure.
Mr. Yeah, Mr. General Musharraf, he was. So, sir, how do you think? Like, there were many indicating reports at that time that Pakistani army made many atrocities on the Indian POWs that they captured on the line of control at that time in Kargil. And one of them was Mr. Saurabh Kalia and his six-man team total. And as per to their accords, when the bodies were returned, the bodies were mutilated. All the bodies were mutilated, means parts were being chopped, their eyes got punctured, they had cigarette burnt marks on all of their bodies, and even their private parts were and conducting the postmortem report at the time in the Indian hospital at that time, the doctors found that all these markings were done anti-mortem, means before death.
Mhm.
So, how do you think this kind of discrimination is why this kind of discrimination is being conducted with the POWs in Pakistan? So, why did the Pakistani army, might be it can be regular or irregular soldiers, might be any kind, might be it can be the person from the ISI or any kind of military intelligence things. Why did they conducted all these kind of things? So, is it uh, possible that Pakistan should acknowledge this kind of thing and should bow in front of the parents of those soldiers who just laid down their lives?
No, no, Himanshu, I totally, I mean, I must have to refuse this allegations. I mean, at both sides, at both ends, they are professional, regular armies. I mean, when the regular armies fights with each other, they respect, even when you are captured. If the Indian is captured or the
Mm.
Pakistani is captured over there, I mean, they don't treat with
Mm.
each soldier with such kind of brutality once you are captured. I mean, So I don't expect from Pakistan, neither from Pakistani part or neither from Indian part, because there was a Colonel, Captain Colonel Sher Khan, who was martyred in India. I mean, the body was recovered by Indian troops.
Yeah.
There was probably a major general or a Indian brigadier who write a chit and put it in his pocket, and that was the
Yeah.
recommendation of giving him the highest award of highest military award. I mean, and that Colonel Sher Khan, when
Nishane Haider.
received
Nishane Haider, sir.
Nishane Haider.
Yeah.
He was recommended by Indian senior officer that he has fought. I mean, so bravely that he deserved for this Nishane Haider. So even when it comes to Abhinandan, once he was captured by the locals, he was at the initial at that time he was they were trying to, I mean, kill him. But as soon as Pakistani army reached over there, they bring him with honor and with respect, with dignity. I mean, and he praised it, because it's not a matter of, I mean, Indian side or Pakistani side. Both are professional armies. Both are regular armies.
No, sir. Means both are the regular armies, but as per to the fact is concerned, I had read reports regarding this torture of Mr. Saurabh Kalia, and their parents also acknowledged that those was torn apart. Means even there were some incidents also into the Indian side of LOC in Kargil war. Like many bodies were mutilated. Many Indian Army soldiers' bodies were mutilated, and their heads been chopped off. They had been taken by the terrorists on the Pakistani side. So how do you see, like, is there any kind of involvement of Pakistani special commando groups in all these attacks? Because what I have been confirmed by the soldiers of the Indian Army, that those retired soldiers, that although bodies were being mutilated, so how do you see that mutilation is the only thing that Pakistani army is conducting on the LOC, or it is the terrorists that they are conducting, and they are being supported by the Pakistan armed forces from the back end?
No. First of all, even if it happened, I mean,
Yeah.
I can condemn it. I mean, I cannot justify it if it happened. I mean, this
No,
is the first
sir,
time.
it happened. Yeah.
If
No,
it
no,
happened,
it is not the first time, sir.
it must be
It
condemned.
happened since
Such
the
such
1971 war also. I would like let you know first, sir. Actually, my grandpa was the Indian Air Force. He was in the Indian Air Force, and he had bombed many military convoys of Pakistan in 1965 war, 1971 war, and he was a decorated October this year after age of 88 years. So he had told me that there were many reports at the time when the Pakistani army captured the Indian POWs. So they just selectively captured 54 officers, of whose identity were not known till yet. Means there were conflicting reports that 54 soldiers, highly soldiers of Indian armed forces were captured by the Pakistan. And so, how do you think that is there a possibility that the Pakistan army is still keeping those POWs of 1971 war in their jails?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if they are keeping such prisoners in the war, there is regular, frequent, I mean, exchange of prisoners, or your High Commissioner or High Commission visits the prisons so that they can see the position, or in what condition they are captured or they are being treated. So I don't have much
Hmm.
knowledge about this issue actually. So I cannot speak much. But if it is done, or if there is a prisoners of war still captured, I mean, it is unjustifiable. I mean, there is
Hmm.
a lot of time there is exchange of prisoners. I remember one prisoner, one soldier. He died recently, probably perhaps the year ago. He for
Hmm.
over 50 years been captured in Indian jail. I mean, uh, now this is the time. I mean, we should not, even if it happened in past, at least it should
Hmm.
not happen in future. I mean, it should not be happened. I mean, the war is something else, but such brutality or this kind of act is not justifiable.
So, sir, how do you think, one of your opposition members of your parliament, he given consent about Abhinandan's release that General Qamar Javed Bajwa sir's legs were shivering, and Mr. Shah Mahmud Qureshi asked that release Mr. Abhinandan, and if we won't release him, India is going to attack. So was all this a bluff being posted by that member of parliament to deframe the Pakistani government led by Mr. Imran Khan, or it was in the reality?
No,
Because after
Ayaz
that
Sadiq,
only, Mr. Yeah,
Ayaz
yeah,
Sadiq, a former speaker, was greatly misinterpreted in his speech. There are two parts of this
okay,
speech. I mean, I would explain you the two parts. He was saying that in the presence of Army Chief Bajwa, the legs of foreign minister was shivering. I mean, it was said in this way that there was a
okay,
confusion that it was misinterpreted that perhaps army chief was shivering. No, no, we don't expect such. I mean, this kind of any gesture from even over adversary India. Neither. No, they are well decorated officers. And the other part was that the Abhinandan issue, he was handed over due to the immense pressure by the India. Yes, yes, I agree.
mm,
Because when you become on the edge of the war, I mean neck to neck, so there is the strategy that called the deterrence. That in the
mm,
deterrence, you deter to the other country to do something, whether it was a deterrence by India that they will attack if that was the deterrence. If it is suppose we accepted that yes, India has threatened the Pakistan and Pakistan handed over the Abhinandan. Let's assume it correct.
mm,
Okay. Even if Pakistan, under the immense pressure, handed over the Abhinandan to India, it is, I mean, it's a
mm.
very sane act. I mean, in order to avoid the war, simply, I mean, if
Yeah,
India has done something to avoid the war, to avert the,
mm,
yeah, you can say escalation, or I mean, if there was a great risk of escalation, I mean, when the things are escalated, I mean, neither it will be in your hand nor in our hand. It may be the nuclear
yes, sir.
war. So in order to, yes, there was a
Mm,
pressure, but the gesture at that time was the gesture Pakistani shows that yes, for the peace gesture we are handing over the Abhinandan to you. And if he
mm,
was not handed to India, then what would have had India done to Pakistan? I mean, even then, I mean, when after the Mumbai attacks, what had India done to Pakistan? And during these 20 years or after after the Kargil war, even not in the Kargil war,
mm.
India had not done any surgical strike. I mean, the war is not that easy. It's not to play with each other. So it was we should appreciate it that whether that is done under the pressure or whether that is done by as a peace gesture, it should be appreciated.
Yeah. So, sir, let's come to this surgical point of view. India claimed that there was a surgical strike in Pakistan. First in the 2016 and then in 2019 when there was an attack on the Balakot facility. So each and every time, why did Pakistani military was didn't allow the international and the local journalists to visit all those places that India had claimed to attack by their armed forces inside Pakistan? How do you think, sir, why Pakistan Army stopped the international media to visit the madrasa that was targeted by the Indian Air Force in Balakot on 26th of Feb 2019? Why Pakistan Army stopped journalists? Why they were not allowed to visit immediately after the attack site at that site?
Yeah, as you see, the first of all, the mastermind
Yeah.
or the the player of the Mumbai attacks were that David Hadley, who is an American citizen. David Hadley, he's still in the prison in
Mm,
USA. So did you ask America to hand over, first of all, did you ask America to hand over David Hadley to you? Or did you say America that we will, if it is not handed over to Pakistan, you will
We
make a
asked, sir.
surgical?
We
Okay,
asked
but that is not handed
The
over.
Indian authorities. Yeah,
Yes, again.
no. Actually,
When
the Indian authorities had asked the America, US security agencies to hand over Mr. David Coleman Hadley to the Indian, but they refused because they didn't had any kind of accession treaty in between both the countries to hand over the criminals of
got
to
it.
each other.
Now I
Because
got it.
this David Hadley had a crime on his head in US also. So and Mr. Tagore Hussain Rana, who was a Pakistani-born American citizen, he also aided in that thing. And Mr. Hadley, like he was a spy, he was not the main accused. He was just spying on the behalf of Hafiz Saeed, Zakir Rahman, Lakshmi, and all those. Means he was paid. He was a paid actor. He was just spying on the buildings that were going to be targeted,
No, he
as
was not just
usually
spying.
the
He
normal
was not
spies
just.
do in
I
Indian.
mean, this mega operation cannot be done by the
Yeah,
one player. I mean, he funded $25,000. Anyways, now come to your point that why Pakistan? No, Pakistan took these diplomatic delegation, as far as I remember, when India
yeah,
claimed that they had
yes, sir.
done the surgical strikes in Pakistan, the next day Pakistan done the attack over somewhere in India, right? And that was little escaped. I mean, their senior
It,
officers were next
it
to.
was on the military, sir. Actually, sir. Actually, India attacked the non-military installation in Pakistan, and the was try to attack the Indian military installations in Rajouri on the Indian side of LOCs. There were military installations. There was not any kind of civilian target targeted by
Okay, the
Pakistan.
one you
And
attacked, the one you
as
attacked.
far as to my knowledge, they dropped bomb also. And but the in time intervention of Abhinandan and his colleagues in the Su-30 MKI and the MiG-21, they were unable to drop bombs on the Indian military installation, and they ran away in a hurry. And in this between only, there was a dogfight occurred in the Pakistani airspace. One F-16 was shot down, and Mr. Asif Ghafoor, at first of his interview, he accepted that there were three pilots captured on the Pakistani soil. From them, one was killed on land, and one was admitted to the CMH, your military hospital, and one was in the Pakistan custody. And later on, he accepted that only one pilot was captured, and what happened for the rest of the two? Means there was like ignorance being given to the soldiers of that they seen two parachutes into the and the pilots. It was lynched by the mob of who just walked 4 3 kilometers away from the site from where the Abhinandan was captured. So how do you think, sir, Pakistan always denies or this particular thing that no F-16 was shot down?
Himanshu, first of all,
Yeah.
your question
Yes.
related to that whether international journalists were allowed to visit that site or not. As far as I remember,
Yes, sir.
at least Pakistani journalists were allowed. Even in today's world, where everybody is holding these smartphones. I mean, wherever you attack, it will be captured in a seconds, and it will be you can find it on media. The target which India attacked was not even a madrasa. I mean, this was attacked, but what India wanted to achieve was not that particular place, but to show their people that it has done a surgical strike. At least they came, they penetrated the Pakistani airspaces. I mean, that was sufficient to convey their people that yes, we had done this. No matter we have killed
Sir,
someone or not killed someone.
for penetration of the Pakistani airspace, it should have been done into various places also. Either they can move on to the Karachi, either they can move to Lahore. Why they selected on this
Yes,
barren
yes.
land on to the part
The
of
reason
Balakot?
is,
If
the
if
reason
if if
is,
they
the
had to
reason
try
is,
to show the Indian people that they have the will and power to cross the Pakistani airspace, they could have attacked the
yes,
different locations, the Lahore, the Karachi, the Hyderabad,
yes,
Islamabad,
the reason
and
is,
any kind of city. But yeah, means
yes,
there was an existence of
the reason is,
yeah, Pakistani. Yes, sir.
yes, the reason is when you attack that specific place and then
Hmm.
we penetrated your space. This is
Hmm.
I mean, you can call it a small scale of escalation or small scale of adventure. You came, hit and run. We went there, hit and run back, right? So, in order to avoid
No, sir.
the
We did
escalation
hit.
and
We did
the
hit. And there were more than yeah. There were more than 300 terrorist attacks. It was the local sources of Pakistani media. Even the superintendent of Balakot, superintendent of police of Balakot, he just achieved that the Pakistan they are not allowed. Even in fact, the local police was not allowed to go into that area. It was total under the control of Pakistani military. And for more, even the correspondents of writers and CNN, they tried to visit that particular building, but they were stopped into their tracks by the Pakistani military. So, how do you think like even only few trees were uprooted and few crows died? So, not for that particular reason, the
try
Pakistani
to understand
military
the one
will try
point.
to cross.
Try to
Yes, sir.
understand the one point. For example,
Yeah.
if in my personal capacity cross the international border, come to India, take a selfie, and get back to my country,
Hmm.
it doesn't mean without taking a visa, right? It means that
Yes, sir.
I have crossed illegally. I have penetrated in your, no matter I did terrorism or any terror act, no, nothing. But crossing the border, coming into your country on your land, taking a pictures and getting back, it is also, I mean, unjustifiable act. I mean that I
Yeah,
didn't
it is. It
respect
is, sir.
your sovereignty, right? So you are
Hmm.
trying to prove that whether the militant camps were, even if the militant camp there even if there was a militant camps, it's not a question of there was a militant camp or no. The question is what mattered to the world community is, yes, you have penetrated the airspace, you came, you dropped the bombs, and then you
Hmm.
ran. This is what matters. I mean, even at the time of 2nd May 2011, even when the US helicopters came to Pakistan, penetrated over, they actually challenged our
Hmm.
sovereignty, right? Let's suppose if the Bin Laden wasn't found there, let's assume that
Hmm.
if he wasn't found there, so and they had done nothing, just came and run. So it means that the sovereignty is more important than the people who got killed, or the trees, or the militant camps, right? And the same was
Hmm.
done by Pakistan, that Pakistan penetrated, hit the India on the military installation, and it was narrowly, the senior officers were narrowly escaped. So what matters the most is that yes,
Yes.
Pakistan penetrated their space. Pakistan didn't respect the sovereignty of India. This is the point which I am trying to convey. So it's not the matter whether
Hmm.
they hit. I mean, if they could, if the most wanted person of India is Dawood Ibrahim, not those militants. Even if there was militants or if the military camp, that was not important for India. India several times had claimed that this is the address that the Dawood Ibrahim is living, residing in this bungalow of the Clifton. There is a housing society. So if India
Hmm.
could claim this
In
act,
Karachi. In Karachi.
why couldn't he send some missile to hit this Dawood Ibrahim and can justify the all over the world community that we had hit the most wanted person of India? If India cannot hit the most wanted person his most wanted person in Karachi, how can he claim the surgical strike? Then again, after the Mumbai attacks, even Muridke,
Hmm.
everyone knows that this is the headquarter of Lashkar, Jamaat Dawa. But India did not try to attempt to make any kind of adventure. I mean, if surgical strikes are so easy, it's if surgical strikes are not difficult at all. I mean, the technology
mm,
you have or the technology we have, we can hit any part of India, and India can do so. He can India can hit any part of Pakistan at pinpoint. It's not a big deal. I mean, but then again, the escalation after these attacks, the aftermath
mm,
of these attacks, no, then there will be the war on the large scale. That's why, in order to avert
yeah.
these kind of escalation, we try to, even in Pakistan, try to maximum. I mean, at both ends, they maximum try to avert these kind of escalations. Even after Kargil, while when both countries were nuclear power, they didn't bring the
Mm,
theater of war into the international border or they did not turn it to the large scale war.
mm. So they didn't large scale war because it was the violation of the nuclear arms treaty, because Mr. Bill Clinton had predicted that if Pakistan attacked on the Indian area with their nuclear arsenal, then India will retaliate in even a much more worsened situation, and the situation will get much more worse, and it will affect millions of people on this land. Either it is the Pakistani citizen or the Indian citizen. Just try to avoid it. So, sir, my next question to you that, sir, how do you see the involvement in the recent FATF movement, this decision that FATF decided to keep Pakistan in the grey list? How do you think that Pakistan should avoid it from getting going to the blacklist? Uh, like, what are the measures that are being taken by the Pakistan? I would like my viewers would like to know, sir.
Before I answer your question, as you have mentioned the nuclear arsenal,
Yes,
let me
yes,
explain the
sir.
nuclear posture of India and nuclear posture of Pakistan. India and the China is the only country
Mm.
who has signed the agreement or who has made their nuclear doctrine that they will not strike first. I mean, it's only two
Yes, sir.
countries. So India clearly
Mm.
said that they will not attack any country. They will not use nukes at first because
Yes, sir.
they
You
secured
are
the
correct.
they secured the second strike capability. But India also had made it clear that
Mm.
if their nuclear I mean facilities are being attacked, it will considered as a nukes attack. I mean, and they will certainly
Mm.
go for the first strike at only
They
provided
will
that
attack, sir. They will attack.
they will attack. Okay, so the Pakistan has made it very clear that Pakistan said that it will go for the tactical nuclear strike. I mean, when the
Mm.
conventionally Pakistan is weaker than in India, conventionally, right? So
Yes,
when
sir.
on the large scale war, when it started on the large scale war, Pakistan nuclear posture is that it will strike first. I mean, because before
Mm.
there is a terminology called use it or lose it. So Pakistan says
Mm.
that before we lose the nuclear arsenal, will use all the nuclear arms. So we have to understand it. Secondly, FATF. Yes, the
Mm.
FATF is a bit complicated issue. I mean, over banking system, because our banking system was not that advanced at that time. The economy was not documented the way India has documented their economy,
Mm.
because I had done the trade with India as well, and I had while I was in the Middle East, I used to trade with India and used to trade with Pakistan. But when it comes to the India, they were
Mm.
very straightforward. I mean, their
Okay.
banking channel was very straightforward. Once they do the export,
Mm.
they have to receive the amount from the same account, from the same buyer's account. And whereas when it comes to the
Mm.
Pakistan, it doesn't matter that whether you buy things from the different name. I mean, your consignee is different, and then you are sending the amount by the different name. So overall, the banking
Mm.
system, overall, the whole economy was not up to mark, which we are currently, I mean, doing it. So the world community needs the documented economy. I mean, that is the basic necessity. I mean, nowadays, that where the transactions were dubious, whether it comes to use for the terrorism purposes, So we were way behind India or the world community. I mean, there was as you have heard that the corrupt mafia, the ruling elite took the money from here and done their TTs. I mean, tele transaction and the money goes out from the Pakistan. It's not only about the terrorism. It's about the corruption. It's a broader picture. I mean, so that's why their demands were 27 actions, and then we have complied the 21 or 22. Fives are still remaining. So we are hoping the better.
Might be, sir, as per to my information that FATF founded that Pakistan worked only on the six particular agreements they had reached out of 27. 21 were the remaining ones.
No, misinformation. I mean, that was perhaps that was wrongly conveyed to Indian friends. It was five remaining. There was total 27. But I have heard from even Major Gaurav Waria that he also mentioned that Pakistan has so far complied the five. If the Pakistan had complied the five, Pakistan they had to put Pakistan into the blacklist. But on other hands, nobody can. I mean, the world community cannot even dare to put the nuclear power into the blacklist. I mean, this should be made very clear. I mean, the world community cannot take the risk to put it into the blacklist.
Yes, sir. So my next question to you falls about the recent incident that occurred in Pakistan. There was one cleric Pakistan, Mr. Khadim Hussain Rizvi, who had recently died, and many of the protesters in Pakistan are blaming on the ISI role. Like he died means of unknown death. There was not a particular reason. Some are saying that Mr. Rizvi was suffering from COVID-19 virus, and some are claiming that he was being poisoned by some of the associates of the Pakistan Army or ISI. So, how do you think? Like, will it be going to affect the Pakistan internal politics?
Well, as far as Khadim Rizvi is concerned, I mean, nowadays everybody seems
Yeah.
to, I mean, seems to have like if there is a flood, they blame the ISI. I mean, if there is the over flooding, they blame the ISI. If there is over rain, they blame the ISI. He was died even before him. The last week there was a Chief Justice of Peshawar High Court who gave Musharraf, when he died of corona, immediately the some section of the group says that perhaps the ISI is behind this, even the natural gas. So I don't. I mean, this is on a serious note. I mean, I just take it lightly that Khadim Rizvi's death was also blamed on ISI. Seems like everything is. It's very easy to put everything on the ISI. So yeah, there is a fact that establishment roles. I never denied the establishment role in our in either electoral politics. And by the way, why is this? Because there was no political cells in ISI before the Bhutto. It was the Prime Minister Bhutto who made the political cell in the ISI. It was the civilian Prime Minister who brought them into to the politics. Otherwise, they were not into the politics at all. So, for
Yeah,
any
and
reason,
it was the Pakistani army, and it was the Pakistani army who hanged Mr. Bhutto in
yes, yes,
1970.
yes, 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 indeed, indeed. It was Pakistani army. Because see, sometime when you try to politicize them, and it was not the Bhutto, even before the Bhutto, the army was politicized on the political, because there was the four coups, there was the four chief martial law administrators. So I cannot say that no, the over dynamics of the politics is different. I mean, you have to understand the dynamics of electoral politics or anything, because when the country is being ruled four times by the military, and all of a sudden you can say that no, everything will be like democratized. No, cannot be democratized all of a sudden. It will take time. Like after the coup of Musharraf 1999, then you have see the visible change that this is the third time that any government is going to hopefully going to complete its term. That the first time it happened was during the military dictator. The democratic government I mean, the first democratic government completed 5 years under the military dictatorship, Pervez Musharraf. then under the Kiani,
Yeah.
and then under the Bajwa. So that's why gradually we are becoming. I mean, it will take time. So don't in this matter
So how
don't
do you
compare
see?
India to Pakistan.
Yeah. Is there any kind of indication towards like will be a military coup again in Pakistan because there were
Not at
some
all.
unconfirmed reports
Certainly not.
that Mr. Imran, yeah, like
Certainly
Mr.
not.
Imran,
I mean,
yeah,
no, it cannot be. It cannot be done. I mean, in this modern area where there is a social media nowadays, where there is a satellite, private satellite channels, uh, if it happen, it will be same like the response from the public will be same like the Turkish people when the military tried to coup.
mm,
It will happen exactly the same way. I mean, you cannot even think of it that military will ever come forward to coup the country. No, not at all.
sir, but that Turkish coup was done by only a small scale of military generals. They were not at much as large that the Pakistani military has been concerned. The thing is that means only more than 265 generals of the Turkish army and Turkish air force they just revolted against Mr. Erdogan. But not all the whole army supported the Mr. Erdogan's this government only. Thing
Even
was
in
that.
the even in the last coup of Pakistan, or when the over army chief was in the air,
Yeah.
right? There was two or
Hmm.
three generals. I
Yes,
mean,
sir.
it was a discipline that next the corps commander of Pindi,
Hmm.
lieutenant general at the Karachi, General Osmani. I mean, there were not all the generals on the
Hmm.
board, but there is a hierarchy, there is a discipline, and there was a sentiment
Hmm.
at that time. But it's I mean 20 years ago. At this moment, I'm telling you that neither a military is thinking to come to the power, on nor even
Hmm.
people will tolerate it. So this is out of question. I mean, this is out of question.
Yeah.
That
Yes,
small
sir.
and in
Hmm.
Pakistan, I mean, you cannot expect the few journalists will come forward and will act overzealously. No, in Pakistan, it may not. It will never happen.
What is the reason that every Pakistani military general who is like commanding different brigades in Pakistan, every time they do some kind of corruption and they just ran away out of Pakistan. So how do you see the recent corruption charges? They were just being made on Mr. Asim Bajwa, and he resigned from the post of Prime Minister's uh, correspondent, I think. He was like a personal assistant on security affairs to Mr. Imran Khan. So why did Mr. Asim Bajwa didn't resign from the post of the CPEC project, from the chairman of the CPEC project? Why did he only resign?
First of all,
Yeah.
Mr. Bajwa was made special assistant to Prime Minister in an honorary
Yes, sir.
capacity. Was as in past he
Okay.
remained the DG ISPR. So the Prime Minister thought that as he is
Hmm.
working as chairman CPEC, meanwhile he can I mean, he can be helpful
Hmm.
in this media information as an information special assistant. But then there was like. Taunts. There was then the story came. The story was erupted. I mean, and then he has immense pressure. I mean, he thought that it is because the opposition maligned you just because when you become the part of PTI government. It was he
Hmm.
was not attacked when he was the chairman CPAC. I mean, it was okay for them. But then when he became
Hmm.
at one side, so he was maligned. I mean, and then if there is such truth, I mean, if we let's assume that if there is a such truth, the opposition can go to the court first of all. Then there is a public accounts
Hmm.
committee that is a standing committee in the parliament, which is chaired by opposition. It was chaired by opposition leader, but now it is chaired by another
Hmm.
person from PMLN. So it's simply, I mean, can call even they can call this chairman CPAC to their standing committee. They can file they can refer
Hmm.
reference to the NAB, and the trial will be started. So when they accuse, it's just I mean, I would say, a media trial rather than a trial in a court. If they are so serious about these allegations, they must act I mean, they should call in, they should send a reference to the court, to the National Accountability Bureau. So it's just a media trial, I believe. It's not there. If there would
Yeah,
truth,
sir.
we be prosecuted.
Okay. Sir, my next question to you is that what is the reason that why Mr. Narendra Modi is hello?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Sir, I just want to ask that why Mr. Narendra Modi is very much famous in Pakistan. Like each and every time we used to see many tweets of Mr. Imran Khan. Each and every time, like about 4 or 5 days span time, he just tweets about Mr. Narendra Modi, happy about RSS, about Kashmir, and all these things. So, why did Mr. Imran Khan do all this kind of useless things?
You're right.
He knows about only 5 things. Why all these things? Not other than that, that he just tweets about any other things about Pakistan or the necessary. And on the other hand, if you have studied the Mr. Narendra Modi's tweet, each and every time he didn't commented even a single tweet against Mr. Imran Khan or about Pakistan. So how do you see this kind of classical difference?
Okay. Can I know the name of current Chief Minister of Gujarat?
Sir, just wait. It's Keshubhai Patel, sir.
Keshu Patel. You were not sure at the first instance. I mean, you were not sure who was the Chief
No,
Minister of
I'm not
Gujarat.
sure actually. Yeah.
Yeah, just because the point which I want to make it clear to you is Mr. Modi became famous or in a limelight when he was a chief minister of Gujarat, right? So, due to that incident where the Muslims were massacred, or for some reasons, I mean, he was famous way before he became the Prime Minister of India, right? So there was anti-Modi sentiment in Pakistan. In fact, Muslims,
Yeah,
Pakistanis
I
were
beg your
outraged.
pardon, sir. Actually, it's he's Mr. Vijay Rupani. Mr. Vijay Rupani.
Vijay,
Mr. Vijay Rupani is the
nobody,
chief minister of
nobody,
this Gujarat.
even
Yeah.
nobody in
Sorry.
India even knows him, that who is the. But when there was a Modi, every Pakistani knew that there was a Modi who is the chief minister of Gujarat, who did something, who massacre or killings of Muslim, right? When he was emerged as that hawkish leader. So since he became a prime minister, at that time, in his manifesto, even in in 2014, his manifesto was that to abrogate the Article 370 and 35A, right? So at that
Yes,
time,
sir.
Modi was considered extremist or a fundamentalist, or I mean, this was the reason. And when Nawaz Sharif went to India to attend his I mean, oath taking ceremony, so that was the reason there was an outrage. And Imran Khan being in an opposition, I remember they every opposition, like in India, Rahul Gandhi malign the
Yeah, Mr. Rahul Gandhi.
Pakistan. Imran Khan or opposition leaders started that जो मोदी का यार है वो गद्दार है, just because anti-Modi sentiments, right? So when they kept
Yes, sir.
blaming or kept accusing Nawaz Sharif for being a Gaddar, or when the Modi was invited to Pakistan, all of a sudden on the some wedding ceremony of granddaughter of Nawaz Sharif. So again, they use it as an agenda to malign this prime minister. But later, when this Prime Minister Imran Khan came, the same tactics are used by opposition, that they are, I mean, they have made a deal on Kashmir, or they have sold the Kashmir issue, or they have buried the Kashmir issue. So Modi, in that context, is quite popular in Pakistan. In that context, Although he's popular in India as well, because when someone is re-elected, definitely he's popular.
No, no, sir. Actually, in India, Mr. Narendra Modi is famous for his development projects. He's not
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
And as far as to the if the rights are being concerned, and his blame, many thousand 2000 Muslims were massacred under his rule. But it was not the first thing that the Muslims were the first one to initiate that mob attack on the Godhra train, which was coming from Ayodhya to Gujarat. And uh, as, if you don't know, I because more than 2000 they attacked three train bogie, that train. They surrounded the train and they burnt it. And mostly there were women and children died. 60 people, innocent people. And who was the main claim? Who was the main conspirator of this? It was a T-20 on the fight of rupees 5 means one of the members of that train bogie, which was known as a car sevak. He just didn't pay rupees 5 for to that tea vendor, and the local Maulvi of that area. He just initiated a move that these people are coming from Ayodhya after demolishing the and they are involved in the Babri Masjid demolition. So the Muslims of that local area, they surrounded the train, they tossed it and killed all those 68 people. And after that, uh, Mr. Narendra Modi had the CM of Gujarat, and it was his been he had taken the oath of as a CM. So he tried many to stop all these riots, but it was mostly 3 days. After 3 days, the riots were being controlled because he was not able to stop all those things. Police was given the orders to
No, but
strike the rioters, but
telling you in
the
that
right,
context
yeah,
that the reason Modi was quite popular, whether in a negative sense in Pakistan, the reason was that they
yeah.
believe that we Pakistani believe that he's a fundamental Hindu and he will come and such things happened. I mean. That is what we believe. That is what we believe. So that's why
Uh,
nobody says that.
yeah,
Nobody ever said
it
Joe
is, yeah,
Biden, "Ya
it is
kya
a
hoga?"
reason.
And
Hmm.
no, nobody
Sir, it
ever
is a
said
thing because, yeah, yeah, please go on, sir.
no, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sir, how do you think, each and every time, whenever there is an incident against a Muslim, against a common Muslim in India, each time Imran Khan and his government and the spokespersons of the government, like Mr. Fawad Chaudhry or Mr. The Railway Minister, I'm not getting that his particular name, Mr.
Sheikh,
Sheikh Rashid. Mr. Sheikh Rashid, yeah. So they used to spoke about the atrocities of that means even a single incident that Muslims are not safe in India. So why don't Mr. Imran Khan speak about the atrocities that are being faced by the Uyghur Muslims in the China? How do you see this kind of discrimination? Means aren't they Muslims, or if they are Muslims, so why Imran Khan don't raise a single voice against?
yes, it's very simple. I mean, as I told you that we are a traditional adversaries, India and Pakistan, and we will not lose a single point. I mean, we will not leave a single ball which go I mean, we will try our
Hmm.
best to hit the each ball, right? So as far as China is concerned, it's not only Pakistan who is silent.
Hmm.
First of all, the dynamics of their information, which comes from China, is I mean they keep it very secret. I mean you cannot find it on social
Yes, sir.
media, neither on the satellite channels.
Hmm.
What we come to know about China is that is from Global Times, right? So first of all, lack of information, lack of such images which make outrage in Muslim community, first of all. Secondly,
Hmm.
strategic reasons for national interest. Turkey is silent, even Saudi Arabia is silent. all the Muslim countries are silent. This is unfortunate. I mean, if some
Yeah.
brutality is happened in over there in China, so we must speak up over
Mm.
there. And by the way, don't take Sheikh Rashid very serious. I mean,
Yeah.
due to his anti-India sentiments, he is actually popular in making such statements. So I don't
Yeah.
take him very serious, and he has
No, no. We
his
also
own way,
don't take him
style.
very seriously because, sir, yeah, because many independent news channels of the international media, either it is Al Jazeera or CNN or the New York Times, they had published many different reports of the atrocities made by the Chinese on the Uyghurs of the Xinjiang province. So it is the only simple context that it was why that Mr. Imran Khan don't speak a little bit thing about this thing, about this particular thing. And many Maulvis of Pakistan, they just spoke about the Uyghur atrocities. And even if we talk about Indian news outlets, there were things they rose about the atrocities of Uyghur Muslims also, and there were protests also in the Indian areas against all these things. So, what is the particular reason that Mr. Imran Khan don't speak a single word about against China?
See, again, I would say that foreign policies are made or crafted like the way you have to, or the statements has to be I mean, a blind-eyed on one issue and focused on other issue, which is there in national interest.
Mm.
So it works internationally like this, that if something is going to happen, you have to blind, or you have to close your eyes and open one eye on the and focus on the other side. I mean, it must be against the national interest of Pakistan if Pakistan spoke openly. Uh, I believe that they must have spoken to Chinese authorities in other forums or in secrecy, but I don't think that
Mm.
we can discuss it or raise this issue. I mean, we cannot go to the United Nations for such issues,
Yes, sir.
but this is a discrimination. I mean, being a Muslim, I believe this is a discrimination. If you raise about the voice of Palestinian Muslim, then you must have to raise the
Mm.
voice under any either a Muslim country or a non-Muslim country, if you believe that it's the same community. But
Mm.
we are blind-eyed on Uyghur Muslims. I admit it.
Yeah. So, my next and last question will be to you, sir. Like, how do you see the involvement of Pakistan lone democracy? Because when whatever happens, if there is a crisis being going on right now, like Pakistan has been asked for to repay $2 billion loans by Saudi Arabia, and to repay this particular loan, Pakistani ministers are running from door to door. Either they are visiting China or either they are visiting Turkey to get to procure some money to repay that loan. So how do you see like why this crisis occurred? Either Mr. Shah Mahmood Qureshi was responsible for his particular words that if Saudi Arabia is not going to held a meeting on Kashmir issue in the Organization for Islamic Cooperation, then they will make another Islamic cooperation with Turkey and Malaysia. So was this the particular reason, or there was some another issue?
First of all, you have to understand that Pakistan, even at this point, at least
Yeah.
have over $15 billion as their foreign reserves. I mean, as a foreign exchange reserve, they must have at least
Mm.
billion dollars by now. So it's not like
Mm.
you have to beg someone to borrow the $2 billion to give to pay it to the Saudi Arabia. It's not like this,
Mm.
but to keep the balance, to keep the foreign exchange at the
Mm.
balanced level, at the desired level. Perhaps this is the reason. Otherwise, $2 billion for any country is nothing. I mean, whereas we
Mm.
are under the debt of $100 billion already. I mean, So it's not like we cannot borrow from other countries or we are defaulted. No, no, it is not like this. It's purely an economical matter, which I mean you should have asked to an economist for this specific question.
No, so as particular to like Pakistan is concerned, but I was just asking you personally, like why it is like Pakistan has to take a loan each and every time? Because as per to the my particular this consent, as per to my knowledge, Pakistan is having a loan of more than $100 billion, means about 83% of Pakistan GDP is under loan. So
Yes.
how do you think like this to be avoided in the near future?
Simple is
Means taking loan
simple
from the
is corruption. I mean, see, you have to understand one thing.
yes.
Pakistan import is almost $60 billion. Pakistan export is 20 to $25 billion, $22 billion exports. So the deficit is like 40 to $42 billion. Pakistan, in terms of remittance, receive $25 billion. So the deficit is $22 billion every year. So where does it come from? If the deficit is $20 billion a year, where would it come from? Definitely, we have to borrow. Simple is we have to borrow IMF or Saudi Arabia or China to fulfill this
Hmm.
gap. So,
Hmm.
previously, what we accused other governments were that the drainage of these foreign exchange in shape of kickbacks, commissions, they borrowed the money from the IMFs, and then they, in terms of kickbacks, they through money laundering, through other illegal means, they become the billionaires. I mean, if you call the Nawaz Sharif, he becomes a billionaire. He has a multi-billions property in
Hmm.
London, and even Isaac Dar, the ex-finance minister, he has a multi-billion dollars
Hmm.
investment in Qatar, and so that's why over condition is, I mean, understandable. I mean, you better understand in what Indian politician do and what Pakistani politicians. So
Sir,
Indian economy
yeah.
is huge. You may bear that kickbacks, that losses, but over economy is jolted because of such commissions, and because we are a small country, we cannot bear such kind of losses.
But sir, as per to my knowledge, Mr. Nawaz Sharif was an industrialist only. He was he was already having, he was a steel tycoon of Lahore who was brought in by a Pakistani general into the this Pakistani politics. So
No, it's not, I mean, only about Nawaz Sharif. I'm talking about the overall system. It's
mhm,
not about Nawaz Sharif only. I mean,
okay.
whether Pervez Musharraf, I mean, nobody, no
Mhm,
politician has ever, other than Imran Khan, who has given the money trail. I mean, if you take anyone or any person, any politician, any businessman, even in Pakistan, if you go to them or
mhm,
who are living a luxurious life, they cannot give you the money trail. I mean, simply, so the whole system, it's all about the
mhm,
whole system, not the person specific. Whether that was Benazir Bhutto, whether that was
mhm.
Ziaul Haq, whether that was Janal Akhtar Abdurrahman. Janal Akhtar Abdurrahman was not an industrialist,
Sir,
but his two sons are the multi-billionaires. I mean, they are the huge, mega, enormous industrialists in Pakistan. So nobody asked that where did
mhm,
this money come from? So it's not about the only person. It's Supreme Court judges, it's judiciary, even it's retired officers, it's politicians. It's
mhm.
all over. From I mean, they looted. Everyone has looted, not only the one specific person.
Okay. So, sir, how do you see the Pakistani military role in the industrial uh, ethos of Pakistan? Means like, as per to a normal situation, there is a report that a trade is being run by the Pakistani army and in the name of Fauji Foundation. So how do you think like is it an army who or it is an businessman though that they are running the industrial factories, fertilizer companies, the mineral companies in Balochistan, in Sindh? How do you see like is Pakistan ruling class are the most vulnerable persons who are just making the corruption to the highest level in Pakistan?
Simply ideologically, if it is, I mean, if I see ideologically, the military should remain in their domain. They shouldn't come into the
Hmm.
corporate sector. Ideologically, you're right. But the fact is, I mean, I told you, as I've told you, our dynamics are different. That any
Yeah.
institution which is run by a public sector or a political under the political governments are badly
Hmm.
ruined. I mean, if you I gave you the example of a Pakistan steel mill. It is ruined. Uh,
Hmm.
Pakistan International Airline. It is, I mean, highly indebted. So, if you ask that why did military has actually started these institutions like Defense Housing Authority to facilitate their retired
Okay.
officers. I mean, the 4G Foundation was founded
Hmm.
in context of to facilitate those who got retired what they have to do. They adjusted them into the, and by the way, when an army officer who is I mean educated, who is a groomed,
Hmm.
he is an asset. I mean, you can use it. Even the retired officer sometimes after the retirement must be in India after the retirement, if he's employed by the public sector bank, they after retirement join the private banks. It happens. If the Air Force pilot is retired, he will go for the commercial flights. It's a normal practice. But in Pakistan,
Hmm.
because the DHA was when developed, it was much appreciated as army is organized. Their housing society was so much
Hmm.
organized. That's the reason people would love to. I mean, reside over there. That's the reason they then expanding their uh, corporate sector or companies, and that's the reason. I mean, they are into these. But normally in the world, army develops what I call to make these weapons kinds of uh, foundries or such kind of institution where they industrial to
Hmm.
modernize their necessities or their requirements.
Hmm.
So, but in Pakistan, the things are a bit different. I mean, they have much expanded in the corporate sector.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for giving today's time to me and to our viewers. So, hope so, sir. There will be a next conversation within upcoming weeks with new issues, new topics on the
Thank you.
international and regional base. Yeah. Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you.